There was a time when Xbox promised to be the player-first gaming ecosystem, a place where generational walls fell, day one titles were part of the promise, and Game Pass felt like a gift. But in 2025, that dream is unraveling and unraveling fast. Layoffs that shook the industry, hardware and software price hikes, Game Pass transformations that look more like corporate squeezing than consumer goodwill, and now whispers that Microsoft's next-gen hardware plans are up in the air. So let's get into it. What the fuck is wrong with Microsoft in 2025? And of course, if you enjoy videos like this, please do like and subscribe. It massively helps the channel. First of all, we can't talk about Microsoft this year without talking about the layoffs, which were astonishing. Over 9,000 employees across the company were cut, including heavy losses within Microsoft Gaming. This wasn't right-size the organization, this was gutting core teams, cancelling projects, shuttering entire studios like The Initiative, and throwing morale into chaos. Former FTC Chair Lina Khan didn't mince words. She pointed out that Microsoft's acquisition of Activision has been followed by massive price hikes and layoffs, exactly the kind of harm to gamers and developers the regulators warned about. The point, consolidation at this scale gives Microsoft leeway to push through changes with less fear of backlash or competitive pressure. In short, Microsoft is earning record revenue and grabbing massive IPs, and yet choose to slash its creative workforce. For developers and fans alike, this is a deep betrayal. One of Xbox's last credible strengths was hardware affordability, but even that's fading fast. Leaked internal reports now suggest that Microsoft's plans for next-gen Xbox hardware are up in the air. What was once a roadmap towards 2026 now appears tentative, with essential console development paths being delayed or deprioritized. Retailers are even beginning to pull back on carrying Xbox hardware. Costco is reported to have stopped selling it. It's telling. If the hardware roadmap becomes optional, Microsoft moves further towards being a software and service company rather than a console-first brand. That shift may make business sense on paper, but it undermines trust in the Xbox brand, especially for console owners who feel increasingly sidelined. Microsoft once pitched Game Pass as a way to avoid punishing players with expensive first-party game prices. Now they've embraced $70 as standard for first-party releases, and yes, we can blame Nintendo for that. In fact, back in May 2025, Microsoft signaled that new first-party titles would cost up to $80, marking its boldest price increase yet. That approach, however, generated so much backlash that Microsoft later walked back to keeping 2025 titles at least at $70 in line with market conditions. But pricing is really only the surface. The bigger issue is what it says. Microsoft no longer appears to care whether gamers feel squeezed or whether the value matches the price. The promise of Game Pass cushioning these costs feels hollow when every other part of the ecosystem is hemorrhaging value. And then that brings us to Game Pass. It used to feel like the irresistible offer. It made sense. Why would you not have it? Now it's a thing people curse when they glance at their bank statement. Recently, Microsoft dramatically restructured Game Pass. The name changes, core to essential, standard to premium, etc., came alongside brutal price increases. Ultimate, for example, jumped 50% from $19.99 to $29.99. PC Game Pass saw a nearly 40% bump as well. To justify the move, Microsoft claimed it was adding value. More day one releases, larger game libraries, cloud streaming and more tiers, bundled perks like Ubisoft Plus, Classic or Fortnite Crew. Microsoft's Dustin Blackwell said, "We understand price increases are never fun, but we're trying to reinforce by adding more value to these plans." But I'm not convinced. Like the added value that they are apparently adding is stuff people either already have via another service or things that have no value attached to them. But also, I think the recent Game Pass changes have Microsoft and Xbox have essentially shown their hand. With the Essential package, for example, you get unlimited cloud gaming. For Premium, you get unlimited cloud gaming with shorter wait times. And for Ultimate, unlimited cloud gaming at our best quality with the shortest wait times. They are very clearly signaling here, as Game Pass continues, it will adjust, tweak, and change so that if you want to have access to the highest frame rates, the fastest download speeds, the fastest cloud gaming speeds, you are going to be charged more. If you want to run that game at 60 FPS, well, That's now in the premium package. If you're in the essential package, it's 30 FPS, etc. They have clearly shown their hand that the plans for this and the way for monetizing is they're going to start including quality measures and quality metrics within those different Game Pass levels. And I think everyone should be deeply concerned that we've had a studio of this size, or developer rather, of this size, so clearly show the cards that they're holding in their hand. And here's the rub. Game Pass is actively undermining Microsoft's own game sales. One internal report estimates that including Call of Duty Black Ops 6 on Game Pass cost Microsoft over $300 million in foregone sales. In effect, giving it away to all Game Pass users cannibalized what might otherwise have been direct purchases, which is obviously how that was always going to work. Microsoft tried to spin it as part of a broader strategy, more subscriptions, more microtransactions, more ecosystem leverage, but the decision shows how Game Pass has become a double-edged sword. The more aggressive Microsoft is with it, the more it erodes its own margins and consumer goodwill. And the thing is, we've already seen that become apparent with the fact that the Game Pass website crashed after the announcement of the price hike. So many people rushed to either lower their subscription tier or outright cancel it that the page completely crashed. This is a clear statement that people are waking up to Microsoft's business practices and are not going to stick around for them. What we're seeing at the moment is a company that is clearly losing its identity. Is Microsoft a console company? Probably not for much longer. A software publisher? 100%. A subscription giant? That's what they want to be. A cloud service? That's what they would beg to be. Their aim and intention is very clearly to be the gaming version of Netflix. Their IP acquisitions, Activision, Blizzard, ZeniMax, once promised locked-in exclusives and a sword to fight Sony. But today, many first-party titles are landing on non-Xbox platforms. The shift suggests Microsoft hopes to monetize franchises wherever the players are, rather than force them into Xbox hardware. This is underscored by leaks that next-gen hardware may be deprioritized in favor of cloud and Game Pass infrastructure. The core assumption is Xbox as a device platform is less important than Xbox as a service platform. But that shift risks alienating the most loyal audience, console buyers who expect a premium experience. As hardware becomes optional and gaming becomes rent-a-library, the emotional bond to console ownership weakens, especially when you have to bear in mind the other angle of this is with pushing software and the Game Pass, not only will people not own the console, they will also not own the game. So where does this leave us? Fans feel squeezed, finances stretched, promises broken, goodwill exhausted. Developers feel insecure, projects cancelled, teams cut, trust eroded. Microsoft margins are under pressure. Game Pass might be growing, but it's also bleeding profit on cannibalized high-margin sales. Hardware momentum is fading. Without a clear next-gen console push, Xbox risks being pushed out of relevance on the device front. 2025 may well be remembered not as a high watermark for Xbox, but as the year it turned inward and started cannibalizing itself. So, in closing, what the fuck is wrong with Microsoft? Well, more than one thing. It's not one bad move, it's erosion across the board. Layoffs signaling that people aren't the priority, hardware uncertainty signaling loss of confidence, price hikes signaling disregard for the players, subscription re-engineering signaling that games may no longer matter as much as margins, and an identity crisis signaling the Xbox we once knew is dying. Microsoft used to be the underdog for players. Now it feels like the corporate overlord raising the rent. If they don't course correct and fast, Xbox could lose not just market share, but ultimately relevance. Anyway, that's everything I've got on all things Microsoft. I would love to know your opinions in the comments below. And until next time, something.